Let's look and see what's happened as the toilet paper roll is spinning now. What's happened so far in 2022? It'll blow you away. First of all, you have the Russian-Iran-India corridor that just came out. This is linking Northwest Russia to the Persian Gulf via the Caspian Sea and Iran. Everyone else has to go all the way around, but the countries who are in the group get to cut through, right? You have Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia announced that they are contemplating joining the BRICS nations. Now, if you say publicly you're contemplating, it's a done deal. These countries are moving away from the Western alliances and they are joining the BRICS. And Saudi Arabia, did I mention Saudi Arabia? Yes, Saudi Arabia is joining the BRICS nations. You had Turkey come out and say they want to ditch the dollar for payments in Russian energy. And they've purchased 75 tons more gold in the first 7 months of the year than any central bank on the planet. They are the largest accumulators of gold. Turkey, who just said they're going to join the BRICS nations and wants to ditch the dollar for Russian energy, they are leading the way in 2022 on gold purchases. You have now 147 countries on the Belt Road, including all of the 13 OPEC countries. All of them are on the Belt Road Initiative. 6 of the 13 BRICS nations, or 6 of the 13 OPEC countries have already joined BRICS or are in process of joining. The 7th, United Arab Emirates, just joined the BRICS Bank. And now you have Russia and China standing arm in arm on a stage a month ago saying they are announcing a new world reserve currency. At the same time, you have gold leaving the COMEX market at the fastest monthly rate ever. You have silver, on the other hand, being massively drawn down through the London Metals Exchange to the smallest amount ever in recorded, ever since they had started keeping track of the amount of silver on the LME. And you have over 100 million ounces of silver taken out of SLV by the authorized participants. So you see massive accumulation of gold and silver off the exchanges taking possession. So let's put all of this together, right? So what does it all mean when put together? And let's think about the Great Reset. How do you get a Great Reset? Well, first, you blow up asset prices to all-time highs. And then at the lowest interest rates in human history. And then you incentivize the world to find a back door because you watch what just happened to the Russians, who 85% of the world is saying, well, you're still okay to trade with because they don't like the way the West has handled things. So they're all coalescing in this nation, 147 countries on the Belt Road. All of these countries on the BRICS nations, which amount to 90% of human population, all of this together. And think of the fallacy of composition. All of these countries, one by one, can't stand up to the US. You put them all together and they will dominate the US. So how does it all blow up? Why do you own gold and silver? Why? Remember, gold was classified the only tier 1 asset in the world next to US dollars. Remember, the biggest money in the world, the central banks, the commercial banks, the sovereign wealth funds, the family offices, they're all buying it. They're all taking it off the exchanges, removing counterparty risk. You can see the drawdown from all of the major exchanges. How does this all blow up? Simple. Saudi Arabia joins the BRICS nations. Every OPEC producing country, all 13 of them are on the Belt Road. They all sit on a stage with their arms around each other on a Sunday night here in the States, Monday morning, somewhere in China or in Russia or wherever this meeting is. And Saudi Arabia says, hey, US, thank you. It's been a hell of a ride. We appreciate it. As you know, we are being now protected by China and Russia. In fact, we struck a joint military cooperation agreement the day you pulled out of Afghanistan the way you did. And we realized that maybe you weren't the best partners to tie our wagon to. You know, you sent over President Biden to beg for oil. He didn't beg for oil. He hasn't even gone to Mexico or the Texas-Mexico border. He came and asked us to not join the BRICS nations. But we've decided after contemplation that, hey, you know what? It's in our best interest, and all of OPEC, who is on the Belt Road, that we're going to open up energy purchases in other currencies, including the yuan, the rupee, the ruble, maybe euro, gold, and dollars. Like that, it's over. Because what happens? Every country on the planet who has had to own dollars since 1974, dumps them. And if you ever saw the moving Trading Places, where one Duke brother says to the other Duke brother, sell, Mortimer, sell, because everyone will start dumping dollars. As the dollar collapses, that's pillar number one, the dollar value collapses. What happens when those dollars collapse and hit the US shores? Hyperinflation. What happens as an adverse reaction of hyperinflation? Interest rates spike. You have to have higher interest rates to compensate for the loss of purchasing power. There's your villain. There is now, was it intended? Did they know this would happen? When everyone dumps dollars and Saudi Arabia and OPEC say, thanks for the memories, folks, and everyone dumps dollars and interest rates spike, stocks, bonds, real estate at the same time collapse along with the dollar. The four pillars of wealth in this country, stocks, bonds, dollars, and real estate, will all collapse as interest rates spike and as the dollar is globally dumped. And this is your great reset. This is how fragile the system truly is. And this is why you own precious metals. It is not to get rich, it's because we are on the cusp, I believe, of a change. Now, remember we talked about 75% of human population understanding on the Belt Road this new digital yuan. Well, what is the digital yuan? To me, it is a beta test. Just the other day, there was an article that came out by a man named Sergei Glazyev, and he is the Russian minister in charge of integration and macroeconomics for the Eurasian Economic Union. And he came out and he laid the fundamental principles by which the new U.S. post-dollar economic system will be based. And he goes on and says, and I quote, that it will not be based upon any particular currency as with the Bretton Woods order, but rather a market basket of local currencies tied more deeply to an array of real commodities such as gold, other precious metals, grain, hydrocarbons, sugar, etc. So think about the Chinese digital yuan. What better way to roll out a distributed ledger technology where you can show the world the veracity of everything that all of these countries have pegged? Why does the European Union not work? In theory, because there's nothing pegged to it, and each country is moving in different directions. But how about all of these countries coalescing not only against the maybe hatred's a strong word, but the universal dislike of the Western hegemony, so much so that we're seeing relationships being mended between Iraq and Iran, where they're building a railway, between Iran and Saudi Arabia, they're mending fences between countries who have hated each other for years. But you know the old statement, my enemy's enemy is my friend? They're all coalescing against a central theme, but that's not enough. We need to peg something. What are all the countries that own all the commodities? The